Hello, aloha. Welcome to this new episode of Touchful Podcast. It's the one that I've been intending to do for a very long time because it's something that people ask me a lot about. They ask me about my morning routine. So I want to tell you in this podcast a little bit more about how I spend my mornings, why I don't have a routine, why I used to have a routine, and what is the most important thing for me to do in the mornings. So hello, thank you for being here. Thank you for being here again. Thank you for being here for the first time. And let's dive in. I would like to start with a poem. It is a poem that came to me and through me in a beautiful moment of my life, and I will tell you more in just a few seconds, but first I would love to share that poem with you. The title of this poem is Fall in Love. I want to wish you fall in love with your life. Fall in head first. Fall in like there is nothing else. Fall in love with your life completely, and then fall in love even more. Let life live you like never before. Let life move you and touch you and melt you. And as you fall in love with your life, may love fill up every corner of you, every crevice and every crack, so you forever remember that you are made in love's image and likeness. And may you be a walking, talking, breathing embodiment of love. So all who meet you will feel it and remember that, just like you, they are love too. It might be one of my favorite poems that I ever channeled. And it came to me at the airport at the beginning of January. I was flying back home from Poland to Iceland through Copenhagen. And I had this stopover in Copenhagen. It was very early in the morning. I woke up at some ungodly hour to be at the airport on time in Warsaw, and then I flew to Copenhagen, and it was like 7 o'clock in the morning or 7:30 when we landed. And I remember that I felt a little tired, a little sleepy, but also just feeling really good and calm and grateful after spending great time of Christmas and New Year's Eve with my family and having this beautiful feeling that I love, feeling of coming back home. And I had about 3 hours to spend at the airport, so I found a little coffee place which was almost empty. I sat there, I ordered a cappuccino and a croissant, and I was just sitting there and feeling the goodness and the beauty and the blessing of this moment, of this morning. And I started to look around, and like I said, the coffee place was half empty, but there was a man sitting at the table next to me, and he was doing something on his computer. He had his headphones on, and he was like humming and singing along a little bit, definitely in a good mood. And at the table on the other side of me, there was a woman. She was just eating something and reading a book with this tiny little smile on her face. And then a little bit further, there was another woman with a man and a child, and they were just having a conversation. And somehow all that felt so beautiful and peaceful and good. So I opened up my notebook, and I had this, this coffee that somebody made for me and brought for me, and this beautiful croissant, and I was filled to the brim with love and with beauty. And that was when this poem came through me. Because I asked myself if I could wish for myself and for all the people in the world one thing, what I would love to wish for us. It was the beginning of the year, so this moment when we make these beautiful dreams and plans for the new year, and I asked myself, what would I like to wish for myself and for all the people? And my hand started writing these words. I want to wish you, fall in love with your life. Fall in head first. And then fall in love even more. Because that's how I felt at that morning at the airport, being so tired, but at the same time feeling I love this moment and I feel loved by this moment. And I feel like I'm falling in love with this moment more and more, with every breath that I take, with every sip of coffee that I take, with every word that I write. I'm falling in love with this moment more and more, and it fills me up. It lights me up. It is life-giving. So when I decided that I wanted to make a podcast episode about my mornings and answer your questions about my morning routine, I knew that I wanted to start with that story of falling in love with your life every morning. Because in a nutshell, if there was one thing that I could say about my morning routine, and I make a huge air quote when I say routine, I would say that my morning routine is making sure that I fall in love with my life a little bit more today. And I want to obviously elaborate on that and tell you a little bit more how I do it. But first, I would like to stop for a moment and talk about this idea of a morning routine in general. So, if you follow me on Instagram, for example, then you might see that I often share some things from my mornings, whether it's going out and looking at the sunrise and just greeting the day, or doing a little bit of dancing or journaling or something, having cacao in the morning. I often share bits and pieces of my life in the mornings, because this is also when I feel the most creative and the most inspired to share something with people, to create content and share it. And ever since I started doing it, people would ask me, what is your morning routine? What is your morning routine? Can you share your morning routine with me? And I started to really think about it and to contemplate that. And I realized that I don't have any. I don't have any morning routine in this traditional way of understanding it, or the way I feel most people understand it. So very often when people say morning routine, they mean a set of things that we do in the morning in order to create a beautiful day. And there are many people who do have morning routines. Sometimes it's a very strict morning routine. Sometimes it's more of a loose concept. But there are some people who thrive in the routine. They want to wake up, take a shower, cold shower, warm shower, make themselves a cup of coffee. Sometimes it's always in the same mug, or start with a little bit of stretching or yoga or some physical workout. Have coffee, have breakfast, or meditate. This can be, all kinds of things. But there are people who really thrive in that, in this feeling of, this is how my morning starts. Sometimes it varies a bit, but this is how my morning starts. And for the big part of my life, I had a feeling that in order to have a happy life, in order to have a fulfilled life, in order to have a healthy life, in order to make a lot of money, I need to have a morning routine. So I started Googling and going on YouTube. And if you go on YouTube and if you write, morning routine, then you will find tons of amazing content, really. And there is even something like, millionaires morning routine, CEO morning routine, and all kinds of these concepts that apparently people who are successful, who are wealthy, they do in the mornings, to tune themselves into the best possibilities of the day. So I got this idea that I have to have a morning routine. I have to wake up and I have to do a certain set of things in order to be happy, to be successful, to be healthy, to be wealthy. And I was experimenting with that idea a lot. And there was a moment in my life when I did have some sort of a morning routine, something that I would do every morning, which usually involved a little bit of physical movement, like a little bit of workout or yoga, journaling, meditating, going for a walk. I would experiment, but I would stick with that routine. And it worked for some time for me always, and then it didn't work anymore. And that was when I started to realize that maybe I am a person who doesn't thrive in the routine. That there are people who love it, who love the structure, who love the predictability of the morning, and they thrive in this. My mom is this kind of person. And there are people who are more like me, who really do not thrive in a little bit more of a rigid structure, that I feel either bored after a short time, or I feel limited, or I feel uninspired. So then a moment came in my life when I threw out all the routines. I threw them out through the window, and I thought to myself, okay, I'm just not gonna do anything. Like this whole morning routine concept doesn't work for me. And that was time in my life when I would just wake up, and the first thing that I would do would be grab my phone, check my emails, check my messages, check what other people are doing. And very quickly I realized that it makes me even more miserable, that I cannot start my day with a phone in my hand, that I need some sort of something to make this day beautiful. But I don't want a routine. Even the very word routine was just crushing my soul a little bit. I was like, I don't want to have a routine. It feels like an obligation. It feels heavy. And that was a time when I started to develop this idea that my mornings are important. Mornings are sacred. They are important. I want to take time in the morning to really plug into life, to plug into myself. And I could very quickly and very easily recognize the importance of the morning, that this is indeed a sacred time, that this is a time that I want to honor. And the way I want to honor it is by making sure that I start my morning in a way that connects me to myself, connects me to life, connects me to love, and connects me to my values. And it doesn't matter to me how I do it. It can be different every day, as long as starting from the very first moments of the day, I feel connected and connecting to myself, to the world, to my values, which are love, gratitude, authenticity, freedom, magic, everyday magic, seeing magic in the world, slow life, femininity, connection to God, to something greater. And it became my absolute utmost priority to make sure that I start my day by tuning in to these values. It almost feels to me as if when I wake up, even before I open my eyes, there is this moment, this sweet moment which I love, when you feel that you are waking up, you're awake, but your eyes are still closed. Especially when you have a chance to wake up without an alarm clock. There is this sweet, sweet, sweet moment. So to me, this is the moment when I feel like I'm almost logging into the reality. And depending on how I start the day, it will determine to what kind of reality I am logging in. And I want to log into the reality of love, freedom, beauty, magic, gratitude, health, femininity, slowness, connection. And that is my job, my responsibility, my privilege to do whatever it takes that will take me to this reality. So it is really not a matter of question what I do in the morning, what you should do in the morning. To me, it became more of a matter of a question who I want to be in the morning, how I want to feel. Because if I am starting the morning with exercise, but that makes me feel like it's a punishment and it makes me feel miserable and I really don't like it and I feel fat and ugly, then to me it doesn't matter that I start with an exercise. But if I start with an exercise because it helps me to feel alive, empowered, in love with my body, awakened, vibrant, then of course that I want to exercise on this particular morning. And this is where this huge field of experimentation started for me. I love this about life so much, that we can try out things. You can try things out and see how they work for you. You can experiment. You can be curious. Really, we cannot live our life from the point of, I'm just gonna sit and think about it. You need to just get up and do it. And live it in practice and see how it works for you. And this is how I started to experiment. Okay, what happens if I do this? How it makes me feel? And then the next day if I do this, or if I do that, or if I don't do anything. And it became such a playful way of living my life and creating my mornings. And I will tell you how my mornings look like right now, and what I sometimes do or what I do on the other days, what I did today. I will tell you all that. But I really want to start with laying like a solid foundation of what is my thinking and feeling behind this whole idea of a morning routine or a morning non-routine. Something that helps me to create a life that I want to live. There is nothing more important for me than having a life that I love, that having a feeling that I cannot wait to wake up and live. I cannot wait to jump out of this bed and do something beautiful for me, whether it's a cold shower or cacao or journaling or a little bit of dancing or nothing because I don't have time, because today I'm very much in a hurry and the only thing that I can do is just look myself in the eyes in a mirror and say, good morning, beautiful, I love you, and this will be a beautiful day. Whatever it is, there is nothing more important for me, for me personally, Magdalena, than falling in love with my life every morning, more and more every morning. So I invite you for a contemplation. Ask yourself, what is the most important thing for you? If you could imagine, just play a little bit with that idea that every morning you log into the reality. What kind of reality you want to log into? What are your values? What is the world that you want to wake up in every morning? And then you need to start creating that world. When it's still not there, you need to start creating it. And to me, like I said, it was love, gratitude, connection to God, connection to divinity, connection to my femininity, slow life, slowness. During this time of experimentation and doing all kinds of things in the mornings, I realized that this is something that I love and I need, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make sure that I have a slow morning as often as possible. Meaning I don't need to rush. I don't have just 15 minutes for myself when I get up, take a shower, brush my teeth, put my clothes on and go. That I want the slowness. And there was even a time in my life when I would wake up at 5:30 every morning. For a few months I functioned like this. I would wake up really, really early to have that feeling that I have 4 hours for myself before the rest of the world wakes up. And during these 4 hours, I would be completely disconnected from the outside world. So there would be no phone, no checking messages, no computer, nothing like this. I would be immersed in myself for this very long period of time. And there was a time when I really loved it, and it really served me. And as I'm speaking to you, I actually realized that I would like to do that experiment again and see, will it serve me again? Because here is something interesting. I realized that I have this tendency to get attached and to have this feeling, if it worked for me yesterday, whatever it was, then today I'm going to repeat it so it will work again. So for example, yesterday, if I started yesterday with just playing 2 songs that I really like and dancing a little bit while making myself my morning warm water or cacao, if it worked for me yesterday and it made me feel vibrant and alive and sexy and good and connected, then today I'm going to do the same thing. Today I'm going to repeat it because I want to feel the same. I want to feel good and vibrant and sexy and amazing and healthy. And then I do the same thing. I'm playing these songs or 2 other songs and dancing. And sometimes it works, but sometimes it doesn't work. It doesn't give me the same effect. And this is the moment of consciousness in the mornings. And I love to stop, put my hand over my heart and ask myself, what would give me the most love or joy in this moment? Yesterday it was dancing, and today I'm doing the same thing and I just don't feel it. So I stop and I ask my heart and ask myself, what would give you the most love and gratitude and pleasure right now? And believe me, the answers come. There is infinite wisdom inside you, and you know, not from your mind, but you know from deeper within. So sometimes the answer is just sit for a moment in silence and enjoy your morning cup of water or cacao or whatever beverage you choose to have in the morning. Sometimes it is open your notebook and just start journaling. Just start this free flow of thoughts. Sometimes it is go outside, put your feet on the grass or in the snow, just for one brief moment. But do something that makes you feel alive. Fall in love with your life. And maybe, most likely, your life is completely different to mine, in a sense that maybe you have a partner, maybe you have children, maybe you have a dog that you need to walk in the morning as one of the first things in the morning. Maybe you have a job that starts very early in the morning, or a job that is in shifts. Maybe you are healing right now from something, so you are not in your full health, and that determines your mornings. Whatever it is, I still believe that everything that I'm saying, it applies. Whether you are, living alone at the end of the world like I do, just surrounded by ocean and trees and mountains and few houses, or whether you live in the heart of a really busy city and you have a family and pets to take care of, and you are a CEO of a big company, still the principle is the same. What kind of reality you want to log in to in the morning? What are your values? What is something that you look forward to create more in your life? How you can fall in love with your life a little bit more in this very moment, even if you have just 10 minutes for yourself, even if you have just 1 minute for yourself before the alarm clock rings, and then you can spend 1 minute before you need to go and wake up your kids or something like this. How do you want to spend this 1 minute? Make this your morning creation. I don't want to say morning routine, morning creation. And if I had 1 minute, I would use this 1 minute to put my hand over my heart and to say to myself, good morning, I love you, and today will be a beautiful day. Today will be better than you can imagine. I love you. Thank you for being alive. Thank you for this life. Thank you for this day. And I believe that's even less than 1 minute. But that's what I would do if I had a very little time. And that is in fact something that I love doing in the mornings. For the longest time, that was my mantra. The first thing that I would say to myself in the morning was, good morning, I love you, and today will be a beautiful day. So if you want to start making little shifts in your morning to create more love, more beauty, more connection, authenticity, gratitude, freedom, or whatever is important for you, then I would say pay attention to this first minute after you wake up. What are your first words that you think? What are your first words that you say? And believe me, there was a time in my life, and it was not so long ago, just a few years back, when I would wake up every morning with anxiety, this crippling, anxious feeling in my body. If you ever had anxiety, or if you have anxiety, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's this first thing when you wake up and nothing even happened yet, but you already feel tense and stressed. I know that feeling. I had these mornings not so long ago. And I had the mornings when my first thoughts, when my first words would be, oh no, I don't want to get up. I don't want to wake up. And I started super slowly with little things. If my first feeling in the morning was anxiety, then first of all I realized it's because the first thing that I do in the morning is I grab my phone and I check my messages, and that was giving me even more anxiety. Even if these messages were really nice and sweet and kind and okay, that would give me anxiety. So one of the first things that I did was make sure that my phone is on flight mode. So even if I used an alarm clock in my phone and I had to look at my phone, then there were no notifications, there were no messages. Or there was a time in my life that when I had to wake up at a certain hour, I would use a different alarm clock, not the one in my phone, because I realized that touching my phone as the first thing in the morning was giving me anxiety. Which, as I'm saying it right now, like, no surprise. Like, I don't want the first thing in the morning that I touch to be my phone. This is, I don't know, to me it's horrible in a way. I want the first thing in the morning that I touch to be my heart. So at that time, a couple of years back, when I had these anxious mornings and these really unkind thoughts towards myself, I would still put my hand over my heart. I would take one deep breath and I would say to myself, "Good morning, I love you, and today it will be a beautiful day." And sometimes I believed it and sometimes I didn't, but I would do it because that was the reality that I wanted to log into. That was the reality that I wanted to wake up in. The reality when I feel loved and I feel that world loves me and supports me and is kind to me. And now, on most days, 99% of my mornings, I feel like this. And I still do it. I very often start my mornings by putting my hand over my heart and saying a couple of nice things to myself. Sometimes it's just, "Good morning, beautiful. I love you, and today will be better than you can imagine." And sometimes I do this practice that I call I am prayer. While I'm still in bed, with my hand over my heart, I repeat to myself, sometimes in my thoughts, but sometimes out loud. It's also fun to do it out loud. I repeat as if I was reminding myself who I was and who I want to be. So I would say something like, "I am beautiful, I am strong, I am loved, I am kind, I am healthy, I am important, I am a gift to this world, I am a good person, I am a good daughter, I am a good Lomi practitioner, I am blessed, I am grateful, I am surrounded by love, I am in love," and so on and so forth. And again, it can take 1 minute, though my record was, I think, 15 minutes of just this constant repetition. And that was also one of the most miraculous days of my life that followed, which I think is no coincidence. Start paying attention. Start making this cause and effect connections in your life. How you feel when you start your day in a hurry, in a rush. How you feel when you start your day with a phone in your hand, checking messages. How you feel when you wake up with an alarm clock, the sound of an alarm clock that you really don't like. How you feel when you don't give yourself enough time in the morning. How you feel when you overate the night before. That's completely another story, that your morning very often starts the night before, the evening before. How you feel when you binge scrolled the night before. And how you feel when you do something opposite. Be curious. That's such a gift and such a privilege that we have in this life, to be curious, to experiment, to try out things. In worst case, it will not work out, and you will know that this is not for me, this is not for me. Just like I tried quite rigid morning routines multiple times in my life, and I realized this is not for me. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't work. It works for many people, it just doesn't work for me. So get curious how this makes me feel, how it makes me feel when I wake up 15 minutes earlier and I can have this extra 15 minutes for myself to have a little bit of a slower morning. Does this make any difference to you or not? How does this make me feel when the first thing that I do in the morning is hug my partner? Get curious. This is a fascinating journey. And then you start to create your life since the morning in a way that works the best for you. regardless of your life circumstances, regardless of where you live, and whether you have a lot of time in the morning like me or just a little, you start to you start creating it in a way that is life-giving. What would be the most life-giving thing to do in the morning? That is another beautiful question. What would be the most life-giving thing to do right now? What would give me the most pleasure, joy, connection, love? And as I've been experimenting, I realized one thing. I realized many things, but this one thing that I want to share with you as probably one of the last things in today's episode. I realized that what makes a huge difference in my life, in my day, is if I start the morning in a way that makes me feel touched, that makes me feel moved, that makes me feel so grateful that tears come to my eyes. And I started to deliberately practice this. You probably, I hope you did, had sometimes these moments in your life when just something feels so good and so beautiful that it just either brings tears to your eyes or this warm and kind feeling in your heart. Sometimes I have it when I look at the beautiful view, when I look at the beautiful sunrise, and I just feel so blessed that I got another day to live. Sometimes I have it when I look at my cat, how sweet she is in the morning, and that I get the privilege to take care of this little fluff ball. Maybe you have that when you connect with your partner in the morning, this feeling like, oh my God, I'm so blessed that this man or this woman is next to me. Maybe you have that with your children. Or maybe even if you don't have it, often, then try to remember this kind of feeling, this feeling like, oh my God, I feel so blessed, I feel so good. And I realized that to me, this is the most life-giving experience ever. And I want more of that. I want to feel like that every day. I want to have multiple moments of the day that make me feel like this. And instead of waiting for something to happen to make me feel touched and moved and blessed and grateful, I started to practice putting myself in this state, to deliberately enhance the feeling. So for example, when I woke up today, there was this beautiful sky, like, oh my God, it had such beautiful colors. And what I could do is I could just take a look at the sky and think to myself, oh my God, it's so beautiful, and maybe take a photo of it. Or I could grab this moment, and this is what I did, grab this moment and enhance it. So I went outside, I stood there for a moment, and I really allowed myself to sink in, to drink the beauty of that moment. I was just looking at this sky and allowed myself to feel almost overwhelmed by it. And that creates a certain frequency in my heart. I almost feel like it. And then that frequency, that feeling just overtakes my body and creates the sensation of gratitude, love, blessing, beauty, and something that I call everyday magic. So this is, for example, what I did today, but I don't do that every morning. The other morning, it was something else. It was just me having a moment in silence with a cup of cacao in my hands and just enhancing that feeling, this beauty of the moment, how blessed I am that I can have this. And to enhance it, strengthen it to the point when it just touches me so deeply. And it is a practice, and as I say a practice, I mean a practice. So there were times when I tried to do this and I didn't feel much. Just like when I say a practice, I always imagine going to the gym or practicing an instrument. You practice. At first you are not good at it. Like me at violin when I was starting. I was absolutely not good at it because I was at the beginning and I was practicing and I was learning. Or when you go to the gym and you don't have, strong and visible muscles and you want to lift up something, you are not good at it. You are building it, you are creating it, you are learning it, you are teaching your body, you are teaching your nervous system, you are teaching yourself how it is to feel something, how it is to play this instrument, how it is to lift these weights, how it is to feel the love and connection and beauty. And if you want to learn to feel it, it is normal that first you don't feel it. But you practice, you show up and practice. So take your mornings as these practice fields. What do you want to practice in the morning? Do you want to practice anxiety and disconnection and complaining? Or do you want to practice love and beauty and blessings and beautiful relationships and authenticity and freedom and connection? And if you only want to, let me know. Let me know what you are taking for yourself from this episode. Let me know how your mornings are. What would you like to create more in the mornings? How would you like to feel in the mornings? Do you have a fixed morning routine because you love it and it serves you? Or are you more of this free flow person? Let's see what my heart wants in this very moment every morning. Let me know. Thank you so much for today. Thank you for being here. Thank you for spending a moment of your beautiful, precious, amazing life with me. It's an honor. It's a pleasure. I love you dearly, and I will talk to you sometime soon. Again, aloha and bye-bye.